Alola everyone, I am Alka193 and welcome to WrestleMania! It is WrestleMania weekend. WrestleMania 37 is today and tomorrow because just like last year, it will be a 2-day event and I'm so excited for it. Last year WrestleMania, yes, it did still happen, but a week before WrestleMania, the major COVID restrictions came in and they had to cancel the entire event at Raymond James Stadium. Um, and it was no crowd, no real anything. They just did the event, and yeah, okay, that was cool, and it was still a WrestleMania. But I feel bad for everyone that put in a lot of work there, was planning a lot, and yeah, they still made awesome matches for what they could. Kevin Owens jumping off the WrestleMania sign as best as he could, I guess, against his match against Seth Rollins. I think that was a year ago that they had that thing, and then the Messiah thing came after that, and that's out now. So many changes in the past year. Wow, and this also means we're now at a year since I properly started watching WWE. It was at the Royal Rumble that I started seriously watching, but I started watching basically everything from WrestleMania onwards last year. So it's crazy how many things have changed. Anyway, my hopes and predictions for WrestleMania on both nights. I'm going to do them both in one video. Now, as always with these events, sometimes right before the event an extra match is announced, or a little change happens into a match. Potential, I guess, maybe not WrestleMania. We'll see. It's big for the first time. The audience is back in smaller capacity than normal, but they're back, which is awesome. All right, here we go. Announced, I believe, as the first match, so the opening match for day one is going to be Lashley versus McIntyre, one of the biggest matches of the weekend, and they're starting with it. McIntyre at one point said, because he main evented and won WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar last year, and he said, when audience is back, I want to be the first one out there. And it sounds like he's getting his wish. First match of day one of WrestleMania, McIntyre versus Lashley for the WWE Championship. It would be awesome for McIntyre to get that win for the WWE Championship, this time in front of a crowd. However, with Lashley recently taking it, I think Lashley would be an awesome champion. Just him and MVP and just the Hurt Business in general work really well as a faction. Love the faction. And McIntyre, although unfortunately not in front of a crowd, has had an amazing run as champion. Lost it for a moment against Orton, I think at Hell in a Cell last year, and then gained it back. He's had a great run. And I think Lashley can have an amazing run as well. So I expect Bobby Lashley to retain the WWE Championship. Next match is Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. Originally it was going to be Bad Bunny versus The Miz, but it was changed to a tag team match pretty recently. The Miz and John Morrison versus Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. And I was originally thinking that like Bad Bunny versus The Miz, I was going to say The Miz wins because Bad Bunny isn't a wrestler. Damian Priest comes in, makes it a tag team match against Miz and Morrison. I was thinking, okay, maybe Bad Bunny, Damian Priest can make it work. I think Bad Bunny probably has learned some things and can do some cool things, but he needs to have had some kind of training if he's in a match. However, I learned today, now I haven't seen confirmation of this, but the source is a pretty trustworthy source that I read it from, is that Bad Bunny supposedly relocated to Orlando for a few months, somewhere between like the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, so he could consistently train at the WWE Performance Center to train for this match at WrestleMania. Because he's a really big WWE fan. He probably knew well ahead of time that he was going for a match at WrestleMania, and he's been training for it, properly trained, both physical, but also just the way a match works and showing things. And he has improved, I've seen in the past month, in terms of the way he talks on the mic and just cues with cameras and stuff like that. If he's taking it that seriously, I expect Bad Bunny and Damian Priest to win. We're going to see some real big surprise from Bad Bunny. Originally I was going to say Miz and Morrison win it, but if he's been training that much, I expect them to really put in a show, and I'd like Bad Bunny, Damian Priest to win. Also, it would mean Damian Priest's first WrestleMania appearance just a few months into his Raw career. Would be cool to see him there. Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Pretty interesting storyline's been set up with them. The thing is with them, Cesaro, even though he's an amazing superstar, this is his first singles match at WrestleMania. Great success as a tag team, both with Shinsuke and also as the bar with Sheamus. I hope and think Cesaro will win. Seth Rollins, because he's already that big of a wrestler, I don't feel like he needs the win. And Cesaro, unfortunately, I feel like the way he's viewed by some, needs the win more to give a boost to his career at the moment. And I think it would be awesome for Cesaro as a singles competitor to get that win. I'm saying Cesaro on that one. Then we have the Raw Tag Team Championship, The New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. Omos's debut. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do, considering how tall he is. Now, Kofi is kind of tall. Xavier Woods is a bit smaller. AJ, decent height. Then you have Omos, like, whoop, hello. I think it would be awesome to see them in action, but I don't think AJ Styles and Omos are going to take it. I'm going to say New Day retain. I've seen some people suggesting Omos and AJ Styles are going to split up after this. Possible, and then they move on to singles again, because AJ is primarily a singles competitor, and then we'll see where Omos goes. But I'm going to say New Day retain their titles. And then Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman in a steel cage match. Interesting build-up. Not a lot of people liked it, but in terms of the match, makes most sense for me for Braun Strowman to win it, especially with Shane not being able to escape the steel cage. If he can, I really wonder how. And I don't mean escape as in win the match, but get out of it with an excuse. I expect Braun Strowman to win. However, we've seen Shane McMahon do some crazy stuff, including a Hell in a Cell match against The Undertaker, where he just jumped off the top onto the announce table. Shane McMahon is going to do some crazy shit. Excuse my language, but I expect Braun Strowman to be the winner in the end. Next up, a tag team turmoil match. 5 teams even. Naomi and Lana, Mandy Rose Dana-Brooke, Riott Squad, Natalya Tamina, and officially added yesterday on SmackDown, Billie Kay and Carmella. There's multiple teams that I'm like, they could have a push. I really like the team of Mandy Rose and Dana-Brooke. I think the Riott Squad would do awesome with the titles. I think it's too early for Carmella and Billie Kay that just came in, so I don't expect them to take the titles nor win this match. Although they could do some cool things together. We'll see. But for me, it's between Naomi and Lana and Natalya Tamina. Naomi and Lana have, I feel like it would make more sense for them to win. I am predicting Naomi and Lana to win. It would also, if they then go on to beat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler the next day, because the winner of this faces them for the titles the next day, on Sunday, it would make sense for Lana to pin Nia for the championship, so Lana finally gets a championship run, because she's been close to a championship match. Like, she has had that match against Asuka, but she lost that one. Or she didn't get the title in that one. And then she was out of her other tag team championship match with Asuka against the tag team, and Asuka won it with Charlotte. I think it would be an awesome story to finish it off like that at WrestleMania. Naomi and Lana win, and then also win the titles against Nia and Shayna. Although Natalya and Tamina have had a lot of... They've done the most build-up for the match in recent weeks with singles matches against Shayna and Nia, respectively. And I love what they've done with the two of them. Natalya's a huge star and hasn't been seen too much. Tamina, not much at all. She just made the occasional appearance if they needed multiple competitors for something. Just like how on the men's side they're doing that with Humberto Carrillo or with Kalisto, or people like that. But Tamina has been consistently appearing, bit of a new look, great new outfits. Love what they're doing with Tamina, so I would love to see her more in action, whether as a tag team or as a singles competitor. So in between them and Naomi and Lana, I'm going to say Naomi and Lana take it. And then the main event. I'm really happy this is the main event of day one. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. I am a huge fan of Bianca. I was really impressed with her in NXT. Then the Royal Rumble last year, she did an amazing job. This year, again, obviously she won it, setting up this match with Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. I could see Sasha winning, but I could also definitely see Bianca winning. So I'm going with my hope and what I feel like makes the most sense for Bianca. Sasha's already this big star. She can bounce back from this. If Bianca loses this, it'll be a lot harder for her to come back into the big title match. I'm hoping and think that Bianca Belair will take the title in the main event of day one. That's just day one. We have a second day of matches with some awesome matches coming up. Except for what the final match is, I have no idea what will happen. The final match is bound to be the Universal Championship match. But we don't know what the other 6 will be. The Raw Women's Championship is on the line. Asuka defending against Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley hasn't had a match. Well, except, I guess, that tag team match with Asuka, which they lost by disqualification, I believe. But I think a first proper match for Rhea Ripley, it would be awesome for her to win it, and then she immediately takes the title. She has the way she acts, the way her character is, the way she can wrestle, as I've seen the past year on NXT. I think she would be a great champion. To put the Raw Women's Championship on her first appearance, on her first proper match, on the main roster, some would say it's a bit too early, but I think it would be awesome to see. I think she can do it. It would be somewhat of a surprise, but Asuka's run as a champion recently, also I guess partially because of the tooth injury, it's been somewhat lackluster. I think it would be awesome to set up Rhea Ripley as a champion, set up new stories, set up new rivalries there for when Charlotte maybe comes back from what she's doing, and then actually, so I'm gonna predict Rhea Ripley to take the title. But what if Rhea Ripley takes the title, and then right after the match we get a surprise return from her? Because it has been rumored, but then again, it's WrestleMania, so something big is bound to happen. And one of the main big things that people are talking about is that the man Becky Lynch might just come back. And it would make sense to me that she comes back in the singles, as a singles competitor, going for the Raw Women's Championship, considering she never truly lost it because she went to maternity leave. And it's been a few months, like Seth's been back, but obviously she's the mom. She has to take care of the baby more. But a bit after WrestleMania, it could be a moment where she returns to more consistent appearances in the WWE and returns as a standard competitor. And it would make sense to put her in the Raw Women's Championship picture. Whether she eventually then wins it from Ripley, I don't know, or from Asuka. I'm going to predict Rhea Ripley to win. And if Becky Lynch comes back, she's probably going to come back right after that match. That's a bonus prediction there. Then, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. A story that has been built up for so long. How many stories has Randy been in? Since the Royal Rumble 2020. Randy Orton has been in 3 rivalry, like 3 stories. But he can tell it so well with his character and then the way he does it with his opponents. I think Randy's probably one of the best, both on the mic and just storytellers in general, with the way he acts and can wrestles. And I think Randy's awesome for that. He's definitely an amazing superstar. I expect him to be in the Hall of Fame in the future. His story with Edge started at the Royal Rumble 2020, and then it went all the way past whenever Edge got injured. I forget what the event was. Then he had his multiple, 3-4 matches with McIntyre, including multiple pay-per-views. Then after McIntyre took his title back, at the time you had the story going with Alexa, Strowman, and Fiend. Strowman then got out of the picture, which is Fiend Alexa. Randy came in, burned the Fiend. Randy and Alexa kept going. Alexa kept growing. I love Alexa's character. Wearing an Alexa shirt. Let's go. Alexa, by the way, the most relevant character / wrestler right now that isn't in the title picture whatsoever. Just my opinion there. But yeah, Fiend is now back. It would be very strange for Randy winning. I could see I didn't expect Randy to win when he burned the Fiend. I predicted the Fiend at the time. But to set up this story, makes sense for him to burn the Fiend. Okay. Randy winning, I could see happening. However, the Fiend losing, I don't. And therefore, Randy winning, I don't. Because of such a build-up of the return of the Fiend, it doesn't make sense to me if the Fiend would lose. Sure, it can be a close match, and it can be an awesome match, but I expect the Fiend to win. Just like he did I believe last year won against John Cena in one of the two cinematic matches. The other one being AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. And both were very well received. So if there is going to be a cinematic match, which is going to be interesting, if it happens, they have an audience. So are they going to be cinematic matches? We'll see. If there's a cinematic match, it's probably going to be The Fiend. We'll see. But I expect The Fiend to win. It doesn't make sense for me for The Fiend to lose. Next, Intercontinental Championship, Big E versus Apollo Crews. I like Apollo Crews' new character, except for the accent. I think for the rest, it works really well for Apollo. His new character, his new heel turn. Somewhat similarly to Randy Orton and McIntyre last year, I thought the rivalry went on for a bit too long. This definitely as well. I've read that this is his 7th shot at the Intercontinental Championship in the past year. Yeah. Then this 4th one, I think, against Big E. But if the rivalry goes on for this long, it would make sense for Apollo to win. And especially now after his heel turn, if Apollo loses again, what was the heel turn for? What are they going to do with this character then? Because he only turned heel so he could deal with Big E. So, mostly based on that, even though I hope Big E retains, I think and predict Apollo Crews will take the title. And then we'll see where his character goes from there. We have Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Logan Paul will be there. If Sami Zayn wins, then is his conspiracy really true? If he gets his win at WrestleMania, then that would be a way to just end his, oh yeah, there was no conspiracy, whatever. Yeah. If Kevin Owens wins, are we actually going to see the conspiracy movie? I'll be very interested in it. I think it would be interesting publicity if Kevin Owens wins because of that. Logan Paul will insert himself into the match somehow. Not sure if there's any stipulation on this or if it's a standard match. Logan Paul will involve himself somehow, will affect the outcome. Sami Zayn says he's friends with Logan. Logan doesn't seem to think so at all. And, yeah, I expect Kevin Owens to win that match. The United States Championship, Riddle versus Sheamus. Sheamus has had a lot of good matches recently. Riddle isn't too far into his run. I could see both sides winning. But I feel like seeing Sheamus as the United States Champion, I'm not really feeling that one. So, purely based on feel, I'm going to say Riddle. I like Riddle's character a lot. So, I'm going to say Riddle retains. Then the Women's Tag Team Championship, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler versus a team that we'll know of later tonight. Whoever wins that match on day one, the Tag Team Turmoil, I'm going to say they take the titles from Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. They're going to lose the titles no matter what. They've been champions for a while. But I just want them to lose them as well because I want Shayna Baszler back as a singles competitor. Because she's my favorite wrestler in WWE. Although since she teamed up with Nia, it's been a bit, it's just that fierceness of Shayna, like it's been there, but it's felt very different, and I haven't liked it as much. So I hope they lose the titles, they go back to being singles competitors, and then it'll be a good run for for whichever tag team is champion. Also, I've heard suggestions that Naomi and Lana, who I then predict will win the titles. Naomi into Hurt Business maybe? When or how? I don't know. Nothing's been confirmed, but I've heard people wanting it or expecting it. We'll see if that happens. But whatever happens, I'm saying Nia and Shayna lose their titles. Then the Universal Championship, Roman Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan. Been set up for a long time, Edge and Roman. Roman always has retained many times. Against Uso, 3 times against Owens, against Daniel Bryan, twice. He's always retained, but he's always retained with help. Whether, well, he beat Uso, sort of normally, but then Uso helped him the first 2 times against Owens. The third time was Paul Heyman that helped him. The first time against Daniel Bryan, he only won because Daniel Bryan was tired, because he just came out of the Elimination Chamber. And then the second time he beat Bryan, there was only reason was because Edge interfered. Roman Reigns, since he beat Jey Uso, so in the past 5 title defenses, he hasn't won without help. Like 4 times without help, 1 because he just had a major advantage. I kind of want him to lose. Like, I could see why again, ratings apparently went up with him a lot, but I'd like him to lose. Edge or Bryan? I could see Edge. If it was 1v1 Edge versus Roman Reigns, I would have said Edge wins. And I would like Edge. Past few weeks, though, Edge's character has changed. He's been more heel-like. Whether it's a real heel turn, I'm not sure, but it's been more heel-like. I could see Edge winning. Yeah, would be awesome. The championship he never lost when he had to relinquish his championship because of his injury. Apparently, 10 years ago to the day, on day 2 of WrestleMania. That's what Ed said himself, so I'm going to believe him on that. Would be absolutely epic. An amazing storyline for him if he makes it. So that would just give me more want for Edge to win. But between Edge and Bryan, like with the recent build-up in the past 2 weeks with Daniel Bryan, I'm going to say Bryan. I'm going to say Bryan wins the title. And as a bonus, I'm going to say he does it by tapping out Roman. He's going to be probably a good portion into the match, like halfway to 2/3 into the match. Almost tap him out, but then either Roman gets out or Edge interrupts again, like he did the most recent pay-per-view at Fastlane. Match happens a lot. They all almost win a few times. Daniel Bryan takes the title. Or Edge, but Roman loses it. But I think Daniel Bryan. Would be an epic story for Edge, though, so I wouldn't mind Edge winning it at all. But this is one of the real close predictions for me. There's a few others that I'm not really sure about. Just like I said, Naomi, Lana, and Talia Tamina. That one's pretty close for me. Same for Edge and Bryan. I predicted Bryan. I'm kind of changing my mind now for Edge, but I've already written down Bryan in my notes, so I'm going to say Daniel Bryan wins it. 14 matches, and potentially other surprises to come. Let me know what your predictions are, what you think will happen in the matches, and are you excited for WrestleMania to be here? 2-night event with the WWE Universe in attendance. Hope you're looking forward to it. I'm super excited. Let's have some action. It's time for WrestleMania.